Hello, Los Angeles. Hello, lovers of the black and gold. Hello, fans of Major League Soccer. Hello to the Hello Kitty fan club. And hello to the millions
and millions
of Defenders of the Bank listeners. This is episode 305 of the LAFC podcast, heard in over 100 countries, but not yet watched. Let's up those subscriber counts on the YouTube, Defenders. Tell your peeps, if we can get this over 1,000 subscribers on this platform, I will personally give away my ticket in Founders Club for an LAFC match of my choosing, and you can sit in my spot right next to the lovely Panda, 2 rows behind my co-host here, I'm going to mention in a second. And for those of you wondering, if you're just tuning in, my name is Christian Philemon, otherwise known as Philly, the fantastically frenetic flamingo, and joining me, the man who's really been holding it down for Defenders of the Bank in my sporadic absences, and I thank you for doing such an amazing job, my dude. La Bufanda, Der Schal, otherwise known as J.R. Lieber,
the Scarf. What is good? This is indeed the LAFC podcast your mother warned you about. Welcome to Defenders of the Bank, episode 305. 304 was all of West Virginia, folks. 305 is just Miami-Dade County. That's the area code for 305. Listen, this has been quite a run in the month of May, my friend. It started out not looking so hot. The sky was falling. Levi's Stadium 3-1 shellacking by the San Jose Earthquakes, at the time the worst team in the West. They've barely crawled out of that spot since, despite winning their next 2 games after they beat us. But wow, have the tables turned? Has the tide changed? My goodness, Philly. Since that loss, all we did was go 6-0 in all competitions, and we gave up 1 goal to some random dude on the Las Vegas Lights. Otherwise, we would be flying high on a 6-match shutout streak. Philly, an incredible turnaround by LAFC in the month of May.
An incredible turnaround indeed, but let's not go crowning ourselves champions of the world just yet. Yes, it was an auspicious start. Nothing by any means that looked like we would be anything but a first-round knockout in the MLS Cup playoffs. But since then, we've obviously turned things around. Still a couple of things that we need to get better in. I'm still a little shaky when it comes to set-piece defense and a couple other things, but I do think that we're operating on such a good level. Hugo Lloris is doing his thing. We'll obviously allude to how the record that was set in regards to shutout time. But to me, more importantly, the offensive workload is being shared by more players than just Denis Bouanga. Last season, during the regular season, not all competitions, 20 goals and 9 assists, there was a big disparity between him and Carlos Vela, who was number 2. I think there were only 4 LAFC players that finished 2023's regular season with more than 4 goals. And this time already, barely halfway through, we already have that mark. So really proud of our club, and everybody out there that isn't a fan of LAFC should be really proud as well. We beat a really good team last night. We're going to unpack that momentarily, but I'm feeling good. Scarf's feeling good. The millions are feeling good. Hello Kitty is feeling fantastic. And life is good for the time being.
I'll say this. I teach at a school called the Willows, and what the willow tree is known for is for bending in a windstorm, but not breaking in a windstorm. And I got to tell you, every single match I watch in the month of May since that loss to San Jose, I have seen an LAFC defense that knows how to bend every now and then, but not break. It has not been perfect. It has not been spot on. There have been moments in each one of these matches where we go, ooh, we got a little lucky there. Maybe we could have defended a little better here. Jesus David Murillo, I hope you're listening. But either way, the defense that we have played over the last 5 or 6 matches has been, and I think it was Mario Alvarado here, I'll put his quote up back in the chat. It is how champions play. We are not going to shut every team out. We are not going to dominate every team in our and their own 18 in every way, shape, or form. We are not that good or talented of a ball club right now. But what we are doing with the collection of talent that we have right now. If we said this at the beginning of May, you all would have thought we were nuts. So we stopped saying it. We questioned the amount of talent. We questioned the coaching. We questioned the tactics. And all LAFC did, from Steve Cherundolo and John Thorrington on down, was said, hold my beverage. And they turned it around and they played in an absolutely wonderful fashion over these last 6 matches.
You know, the thing that's really cool about it is we're also doing this without like a proven number 9, without somebody who's really commissioned to score goals. Obviously, we haven't had that since Chicho Arango. Denny Bawanga has been operating on a different level. And think, Madi Bogusz has been playing out of position, out of his comfort zone for a while now. And what has he done since? 6 goals, 2 assists, his best season in Major League Soccer yet. During the press conference, I was sitting there right next to you. You were talking about, the possibility of a call up for the Polish national team. I think at this point he's going to get some looks. Maybe in the fall he will get the feature for his national team. I certainly think he's opened some eyes relatively recently. So this is good stuff. Our worst starts, we're starting to do some good things. And then we still got Olivier Giroud coming at the end of July. I'm still cautious about that because I don't know how that's going to mess around with the chemistry of the club, especially with us doing so well. But it isn't going to hurt, that's for sure.
Look, let's also talk about the fact that for the last 485 minutes in all competitions, for the last 391 minutes in all MLS competitions, no ball has gone into the back of the net behind Hugo Lloris. We thought one did in the match against Minnesota there for a second. It was a weird angle. But my, oh my, not only is the defense working, but Philly, you mentioned it, the offense is now really getting spread around. In these last 6 matches, how about 5 goals for Kike Oliveira, 3 goals for Denny Bawanga with a buttload of assists, 3 goals for Madi Bogusz, a goal for Timothy Tillman, a goal for Kai Kamara in the Open Cup, and a goal for Tomas Angel that he was extremely excited to score. Philly, that's 6 different players scoring over the last 6 matches, and 3 of them doing it in absolute bunches. And I really do think that will carry over until we get our starting 11, I'll say stabilized, because what you need to do is stop getting red cards and deal with injuries and all kinds of things. But wow, has the offense and defense both looked good at the same time.
Yeah, I like what LAFC says here in the chat that Giroud is going to have to work to get into the starting 11 like Bale. And the difference being that Giroud was playing on a much higher level than Bale was prior to him coming to LAFC. But I do agree that he's going to have to work for the starting lineup. It's not just going to be guaranteed and given to him. By the way, on a completely side note, and then we should really get into this game, I'm sure you all have heard the reports around the rumors. Di Maria linked to going to Inter Miami. Like I have no idea how they are managing to pull this. There's no way you could tell me these guys are taking massive pay cuts when Sergio Ramos is getting offered $12 million by STFC. I don't know how they're doing it. Paul McDonough didn't even do it that well when he constructed Atlanta United, and obviously Inter Miami the first time around. I'm just shocked that Inter Miami is getting everything and all of these players. I mean, yes, all a reunion with Messi centered around him, but I don't know how in the hell this is all happening.
I would just like to say that I'm normally nice to everybody in the chat, but Mario, if you didn't talk for a little while, it wouldn't hurt my heart saying the place a kick me sign on the back of Scarf. Love you, Mario. Either way, episode 305.
Mario, I give you a virtual high five.
Anyways, episode 305, let's get it underway with all the usual suspects. A little bit of this day in LAFC history. We do have a couple of news and notes to talk about, and then it'll be time to get into the match against Minnesota United. The match, of course, was played on the 29th. That is yesterday. And we do want to remember that on the 29th in 2018, Carlos Vela with some of his El Tri teammates make the cover of Sports Illustrated. Carlos Vela gracing the cover of Sports Illustrated May 29th, 2018. That is your moment of LAFC history. We want to give a big congratulations and a shout out to Tommy Musto, of course, A good Italian name like that comes from Makawao, Hawaii. Love it. The kid, 20-year-old Hawaiian kid, Tommy Musto, signing a first team deal. No need for me to scour the internet to see if we signed him to a short termer or how he's on the club or whatever else. And the reason why is very, very simple. With Ilie Sanchez's injury, with Eduard Atuesta on a red card, we needed healthy midfielders. And we also can only bring players up, I believe, can only bring players up 5 times on a short-term contract before we have to sign them to a first-team deal. And I think we saw that might be necessary during these next couple of matches. So we signed Tommy Musto. Congratulations. A first-team deal through the end of this season with options through 2027. So now we've seen Luis Muller. We've seen Tommy Musto. I firmly believe Luca Bombino will be next. These guys that are starring for either the Academy or LAFC 2. And Philly, a kid who, look, we already got to see him play in the Open Cup once. Congrats to Tommy Musto.
The kid was one of the number 1 prospects coming out of the state of Hawaii when he was playing club. And as a result of that, he was scouted and offered a ride to go to the University of Portland. There's ties there because Steve Cherundolo went to the University of Portland. In fact, he was the conference of freshman of the year prior to him deciding to pack his bags and head on over to Deutschland. So, there is that tie, maybe a little bit of sympathy there. But Tommy Musto obviously worked his way into LAFC's senior side, and I'm looking forward to seeing some big things coming out of him down the road. 20 years old. And, by the way, Ivan the Creator, the fall of Nathan Ordaz. I saw your tweet on X. Really? The fall of Nathan Ordaz? Come on, man. The kid's not even old enough to go to the bar. Where was the rise? I haven't even seen the fall, barely seen the rise. Anyway, young 20-year-olds that are coming out of our system, signing big league contracts, pretty darn cool. I know I wasn't that talented in anything at the age of 20.
You're still not, but that's okay. Team of match day 17. Congratulations to Aaron Long for making the starting 11 and Matty Bogusz for making the bench. I don't know how you make the bench with a goal like that. Of team of match day 17. Somehow, Lionel Messi scored for Inter Miami, but didn't make the team of match day 17.
Who cares? He's making the money. Who gives a shoot about the team?
But you know what I thought about Philly when I saw Aaron Long starting on the team of match day 17? I said to myself,
"Yeah, Highlanders." That's what you said.
I said Aaron Long. That was the only defender I really didn't think about all match. I mean, he was out there. He did his job.
Did his job big early on. Timu Pukki remembers who Aaron Long is.
Sure, but what more can you ask for a guy like that of Aaron Long? I really wish some of these pro referees would be as anonymous out there as Aaron Long has been over the course of much of this season. He definitely deserves it. Congrats. I just want to remind everybody that Sunday, June 2nd, coming up in just a couple of days, LAFC 2 takes on North Texas at Titan Stadium, 7 p.m. on Sunday, June 2nd. And then Saturday, June 8th, Angel City will be taking on Gotham FC at 9:30 in the morning. Luckily, that one's in Gotham. Actually, it's not in Gotham, right? Is that in
Gotham is a fictional place, and somehow Gotham gets mixed in with New York City and Chicago. Gotham's not a real place.
No, I know Gotham's not a real place, but do they play in New Jersey? Where does
they play in Jersey?
They do.
If you notice, though, I'll say something that I actually kind of appreciate. Unlike the New Jersey energy drinks, at least they recognize the NYNJ within their logo. Yes, it's the New York City metropolitan area, but if I was born and bred Jersey strong, I'd be a little annoyed by teams in my state across the George Washington Bridge and all the other tunnels being referred to as New York. I would take great insult in that. At least Gotham had within that logo the NY and the NJ. I respect that.
Yeah, if you were born and raised in New Jersey, I'd be annoyed too. So I appreciate
You're annoyed, and I'm from New York City. You're annoyed. You'd be annoyed if I was born and raised Burbank.
I love New Yorkers. My family is comprised of New Yorkers. I absolutely love
Canadians. Anything north of the Bronx is Canada, Scarf. We've already identified this.
Oh, all right, folks. Look, we have a lot of fun with our early banter here, but it's time to get into it. Look, last time LAFC took on Minnesota United, it was in Minnesota, and it did not go very well for LAFC, losing 2-0 and really being dominated up and down the pitch. Eric Ramsey's first match as the head man for Minnesota, and we go down 2-0. But Philly, that's all fine and dandy for Minnesota, but now the Loons have to make the trek out to BMO Stadium, a place that has become a fortress once again for LAFC.
Once again, it never wasn't a fortress.
Yeah, but we weren't really holding it down the way we should have over the first couple of months of the season.
But we never lost.
I know.
So
but
essentially, it still is a fortress when you don't lose.
Yeah.
That's still pretty darn good. But yes, we've been a lot more convincing. But Minnesota's been really good too, man. Out of all the teams in the top four, they played the least amount of games going into last night. They had 13 games that they played in. I mean, getting almost 1.92 points per game. The team also very good on the road, 4-1-1. We've seen a lot of teams that have been operating really splendidly on the road. Vancouver won. One example, obviously, we shut that down. Minnesota United, another one. I mean, they had a better record on the road than they did at home. And it's not even like off the backs of, Timu Pukki. It's the other Finn that's really having a solid season. But, Minnesota United unbeaten in their last 6. But they definitely put up a poor performance, losing it big time. Had a nice lead against Colorado Rapids at Dick's Sporting Good Park, only to concede 2 more and walk out of there with only a point, a game that they should have won. So perhaps we're starting to see a dip in the Looney Tunes.
Yeah, you mentioned it on the One More Sleep podcast that we did, that maybe there's something to watch out for there after they took the big lead and then squandered it to Colorado. And I could tell you, according to Steve Cherundolo, and I'll say this, according to the eye test for most of the 90-plus minutes that we played, they really did not look dangerous at all, despite the conglomeration of talent that they have. That for me, it says quite a bit when you can put the amount of talent on the pitch, as I firmly believe that Minnesota does week in and week out. And I'll certainly tell you about them as we'll go through the 18. But to put the amount of talent out there as they did, and for them to really never look overly threatening. I thought they dominated play for 5 or 10 minutes at a time once in the match, but that was about it. Look, they're 7-2-4 on the season coming into this match. So you're absolutely right. 25 points, looking really good. But you know what? Sunlight, or in this case, black and gold, is sometimes the best disinfectant. And we exposed them quite a bit. I just do want to also mention Emmanuel Reynoso out for that match. Obviously, he has had his own share of difficulties that he has brought on himself. It was announced today that Minnesota United has transferred him to Club Tijuana, so he is going over to Liga MX. No more Reynoso in Minnesota, and I think that'll be a big sigh of relief for Eric Ramsey and the saga there now. The chapter closing. It's a bummer because he's extremely talented and really fun to watch. And I have to think that it may shift the fortunes a little bit better for Minnesota United now that they know they have this behind them.
So think about this. Emmanuel Reynoso is from where? Argentina, right? How are you going to go from Argentina to Minnesota and look to be happy? Granted, the weather initially in the beginning of the season is downright awful. Summertimes in the Twin Cities is kind of nice. But while we may think he was a bonehead for posing with guns and bags of money, perhaps he was a bit more genius than we ever suspected him to be, because he forced his way out of Minnesota United to go where? To Liga MX, to Xolos. And by the way, we will see him again because LAFC is going to compete against Xolos in the League's Cup. So at the very least, we'll have the privilege of getting to see this talented kid once again. But I truly think he's a lot smarter than we're giving him credit for. I would rather be in Tijuana than Minnesota 11 out of 10 times. Just saying.
I'll say this, 90 matches, 55 goal contributions. He was certainly not playing like he was unhappy. 2022, he had double-digit goals and assists. 2023, he dealt with time with a hamstring injury and also, quote-unquote, visa problems or problems getting it back in the United. I think we saw it towards the end of 2023 is when he really didn't want to be here anymore. But yeesh. Ruben, calling you out in the chat there on that. That's kind of funny. Let's get into the lineups. The 18. It would be a 5-3-2 formation that Minnesota likes to come out in, and that 5-3-2 formation. What you got there? What is that?
Oh, geez. It's caffeinated cherry vanilla sparkling water. No wonder I'm so wide awake. I'm not going to sleep tonight. Oh, I hope I have melatonin. LAFC, thanks. Because I was thinking I was energized from going to the gym. My night's gonna be I might play the Super Mario RPG game on the Super Nintendo later tonight. That's how wired I am.
Man, it is rough being Philly. I like this. This is fun.
And by the way, Ruben, I mean I have no problem talking to Al Hearn. There was just I don't want to bring that topic up, and I'd have no problem talking with him down the road. I might have snapped in a way that I probably shouldn't have. At the end of the day, I'll give him a hug. Everybody's entitled to their opinions. We're an all-inclusive club, and that's the only thing I want to say about that. I welcome everybody. It doesn't matter anything about anything. If you bleed black and gold, I don't give a hoot about who you are and what you like and what you believe in. That's all that matters to me.
There you go. All right, let's get in lineup for Minnesota United. Led by Eric Ramsey in their 5-3-2. Goalkeeper Dane St. Clair of El Maple Tree. He is the Canadian national team backup goalkeeper, backing up one Maxime Crepeau, from what I understand, in the team pecking order. In the why am I blanking on that? Oh my God!
You've got to the age where you're shooting blanks already, Scarf. Oh man.
Wait, what do they call that? When you depth chart? My goodness, I could not come up with the term depth chart. That's how you know you're tired. There you go. Depth chart is what I was looking for. Dane St. Clair behind Maxime Crepeau on the Canadian men's national team goalkeeper. Depth chart. The 5 in the back. Oh my goodness. DJ Taylor, Kervin Arriaga, Michael Boxall, whose throw-ins are absolutely exquisite, by the way.
Oh my God, right? I that's definitely a note in my.
I love watching Michael Boxall's long throw-ins. It's kind of nice, dude. We haven't had a player do that in quite some time, have we? I don't remember a long throw specialist like that for LAFC in quite a little bit. Miguel Tapias and Joseph Rosales rounding out the back 5.
Hey, Rosales.
Robin Lod will trap.
It has to deal with indoor soccer.
Robin Lod, Will Trapp, and Dotson. We got Dotson here, everybody. Hassani Dotson. See, nobody cares. Jurassic Park? Anyone? Sang-Bin Jong up top, as well as the Finnish all-time leading national scorer, Teemu Pukki. In the 18 was Minnesota's leading scorer on the season, Tani Oluwaseyi, Bongo Kule Hlongwane, Devin Paddleford, Caden Clark, and Jordan Adebayo Smith. I don't know about you guys, but now every time I hear Adebayo, I don't think of Bam Adebayo, the basketball player. I think of Adebayo, the guy on the Peacemaker show. Peacemaker is fantastic. If you guys haven't seen Peacemaker, Adebayo was one of the characters on there. And that's all I think of every time I hear Adebayo. That's the 18. Philly, it is safe to say that LAFC rolled out not their most head-scratching lineup, but their most uniquely constituted lineup of the season so far.
Yeah. I just want to quickly highlight Minnesota lines up 5 in the back, and Denny definitely picked them apart, just like I thought he would. Anyway, I'll get back to that momentarily. Frankfurt on mine in the chat. LAFC are very lucky to have this podcast supporting him. Again, simply the best ever. That's my dad. He knows his stuff. Smart man. There's 2 very famous Pookies in the wait a minute. Never mind. I'm thinking normal. Forget it. Never mind. I had a funny little joke that I was going to parlay, but it's dumb now because I realized I faulted. Yeah, you're right. A head-scratching lineup. Not the biggest of head-scratching lineups. Lining up in a 3-4-3, which we've seen before, but you still got, quite a bit of talent on there. Hugo Lloris, who is surpassed Tyler Miller in something, and I know one particular listener out there is going to be very happy when I allude to that. Right in front of him is Jesus David Murillo, Eddie Segura, and Aaron Long. And then up a little further, you got Sergi Palencia, Eric Dueñas. Eric Dueñas, who took a little bit of a knock earlier in the season, worked his way back into the lineup. Now has got a start, put in a pretty good shift, alongside the surprise for me. I was really under the impression that Timothy Tillman would have been in Washington, D.C., reporting the United States men's national training camp because it was said that the 28th is when players would start arriving. When I saw him in the starting lineup, my jaw dropped because I gave y'all misinformation yesterday. It was speculative based on what I had read with the U.S. men's national team. But lucky for us, Tillman was there, along with Ryan Hollingshead, who was playing a little further up than he normally does. And by the way, Ryan Hollingshead was a forward when he played at UCLA, so not a position that he's played a little more than being an outside back. Then up top, TK Oliveira, Matty Bogusz, who's just killing it, and Denis Bouanga. As far as the rest of the side, Maxime Chenot came off the bench. Kai Kamara did, almost tied Landon Donovan's record. More on that later. Ilie Sanchez, Omar Campos, those are the players that got in, and rounding everything out, Nathan Ordaz, Abraham Romero, which I did an interview with him on an ABC radio show that I'm on called Soccer in 60. Check it out on KMET. Abraham Romero, really cool story. Luis Mueller and Tomas Angel round out everybody that suited up. Let's go. Let's get into the videotape, as the one George Michael from the Sports Machine would say back in the day.
Real quick, Teemu Selanne, Teemu Pukki, and the new Megadeth lead guitarist, Teemu Mantisari. Those are the three Teemus that I had heard of kind of before this. I know you were talking about Pookie's. I just thought
now I remember where I was going with it, because I was thinking Garfield, and instantly I was thinking going to Abu Dhabi, getting tossed in a box. That was normal, but Garfield's stuffed animal's name was Pookie, so that was the other famous Pookie that I was thinking about.
Hey, and by the way, welcome back to the chat, Al Hearn. Hello.
Yep. Welcome back, Al Hearn.
Good to see you back. All right. So 5 in the back with Eddie Segura playing center mid, but more in that deep 6. I believe Steve Cherundolo in the press conference, and he said, I mean this in all of the positive ways that you can mean it. He called the position a lazy 6, which there's a lot to unpack there. I really wanted to raise my hand right back up in the press conference and go, wait, what? Because I don't.
I'm sorry. That was the weakest wait what I ever heard. That's like somebody who's about to hit puberty's wait what. What the heck is that? Let's try it again. Wait what?
Yeah, I had never heard the term lazy 6 before, but that's what Steve Cherundolo described that Eddie Segura position. And look, what he basically meant was this isn't a 6 who's going to be driving the ball forward. This isn't a 6 whose job is to break channels and lanes with his passes. This is a 6 whose job it is to get in between the center backs, giggity, and make sure that he's clogging up the middle, slowing down the ball. It was an incredible term that I had never heard. Chris Lafferty saying it's like a lazy Susan. If you guys want to go back and listen to the press conference where Steve Cherundolo talks about the lazy 6, I'm telling you, sounds like Mario says, sounds like a position for me. The lazy 6 worked, everybody. And we'll talk about it as we get closer to the 70th minute of this match. But center midfielder, I never thought I'd see the day where Eddie Segura is playing center mid. 19 seconds into the match, Timothy Tillman rockets one well over the corner of goal. And look, couple of free kicks that we had, they were kind of played soft to the back post by Matty Bogusz. I wasn't loving Matty's. I wasn't loving his service on those free kicks. Real quick, Ruben. No, we get there along with everybody else. Well,
sometimes you get there too early.
Sometimes we just raise our hand and ask questions. That's what we do.
Scarf that asked the vast majority of the questions until I started getting heat for not asking any, and then I just started asking some. But Scarf's got some good questions. Always has some good questions. Sometimes in my head, when you're in a press conference, I have this thought in my head, and then I say it to myself, and then I think it that I'm like, that's just dumb. If I was a coach, I wouldn't answer it. So you'll hear more of me though. But Scarf's the man at that stuff.
Thank you, my friend. I really appreciate it.
Won't get any more compliments out of me tonight.
Hey, I'll take one. For about 5 minutes, we had what I like to call the Jesus Murillo experience. In the 10th minute, he absolutely got broken by Teemu Pukki. There was a corner kick that was off of this deflection. Teemu Pukki just put Jesus Murillo in the popcorn machine, carved him up. It was a great corner, a back post header that was well over the post, but Hugo was there the whole time. But then 3 minutes later, if not for Murillo laying out to thwart the attack, who knows what might have happened. So you get good Murillo in that moment. And then you get super aggressive Murillo on 2 straight corner kicks. We saw Murillo literally crashing back post, wound up. I don't think he got called for a foul on either one of them, but he was certainly as aggressive as one needed to be. Philly, it was a bit of a journey for those 5 minutes for Jesus Murillo. And I know you have some feelings about how Jesus Murillo has played recently.
I do, and I'm annoyed when he just bickers at the official. Just play. Just play. Get up and play until the whistle. If you remember a couple of games ago, he was looking for a whistle, and we ended up with a corner. The other team ends up with a corner, and then they end up LAFC ends up conceding on a set piece. Play until the whistle. Let the captain do his thing. Let your gameplay dictate your attitude. Rep's not going to care what you say. He's not going to reverse the call either. Just go out there and play. And to your point, Teemu Pukki, who honestly looks like he's, a middle-aged man who's I can't think of anything closer to the AARP days than he is from his playing days. Carved up Murillo like a Kalakuko.
Huh?
Exactly. I was waiting for that. Kalakuko, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. It's called fish bread. It's popular Finnish fish bread. And that's exactly what Pukki did to Moody, carving it up in that exact fashion. But luckily, Aaron Long was there to create that deflection, like you said. And we've been good, but tell me if I'm crazy. I mean, yes, I am crazy, and plenty of people would imply that I am as well. But yes, I still feel a great deal of dread and anxiety anytime LAFC is in a scenario where they have to defend a corner. Is it just me, or am I right to feel this way? I think of it as the 80th minute hex from 2018.
I think the first 10, 11, 12 matches of the season, there was certainly some trepidation on these corner kicks. We saw some bad defending, right? But I think what LAFC was able to do is kind of work on that in training. Look, some of them have not been perfect, but they have definitely been much, much better over the course of the last 6 matches or so. And look, even the goal we gave up off of to the Las Vegas Lights, I believe that goal was also off of a corner kick, or at least a set piece. So, it's one of those things that, we still got some things to work on. But if you look at who the pieces are now, the major players, now we've got guys like Maxime Chanot, who is fully integrated into the defense. Aaron Long, who is, and I mean this in all of the positive ways, just like Steve Cherundolo meant lazy 6 in a positive way.
You're going to call him a lazy center back?
He is as sweet of a vanilla defender as one can be, because he's a guy that you just don't think about. He's kind of a set it and forget it kind of a guy, and that's what we need back there. Without a player the likes of Giorgio Chiellini, and boy, oh boy, was it nice seeing Giorgio on the big screen.
I think that's the first time I saw you stand up all night when he came on the screen.
Oh, man, I love me some Giorgio. That's just 6 to midnight every single time. What I do love about this LAFC back line is that we're forcing contributions from many different players. Aaron Long, Maxime Chanot, the occasional nice play from Jesus Murillo. Obviously, Ryan Hollingshead, Omar Campos, and Sergei Palencia have all done things. It's not just look at how Neo sees the Matrix with Giorgio Chiellini back there, and then everybody has his back, or he has everybody's back. It's been a much more organized back line. Mario, there you go. You're right there with me. Look, in the 19th minute, it was just danger defending is what I called that minute by LAFC. Timothy Tillman was trying to mark Sangbin Jong and just fell down. Got a little bit carved up, but also just lost his footing. A beautiful cross, and Hugo had to make a diving save for a corner kick. The first corner was recycled out for another corner, and then nothing came off of that second corner. But, yes, a little bit of trepidation, Philly, but more solid defending by LAFC on these set pieces.
Yeah, I know Hugo's gotten a lot of flack for being flat-footed on some of the goals that the opposition have scored, but that shot by Robin Lod that he got his fingers on, he's going to get the credit from that being the save of the game. In reality, I think Dane St. Clair had one of the best saves of the game, but he did get the credit for that. Robin Lod, a stud of a player. He's not only the leading assist man for Minnesota United, he's number 2, at least going into last night. He's number 2 in Major League Soccer in that statistical category, only 2 assists shy of what Messi has for the number 1 spot. The guy's a killer. 4 goals, 12 assists. Fantastic, fantastic player. We're lucky that he didn't score in that frame. And Hugo stretching out, not the old man that we would think.
And
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I was just saying, and Robin Lod.
I was going to move it along to the 34th minute unless you had something.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's fine. But, well, I want to talk about the 28th minute for just 1 second. But Robin Lod is one of those guys that you are never going to body off of a ball. How many times did we see a player like Eric Duenas or even Matty Bogusz kind of bouncing off of Robin Lod? He is, I don't know what wood or what trees grow up there in Finland, but he's made out of whatever that is. It's absolutely incredible. But Philly, we talked about this at the Open, so I just got to mention this real quick. 28th minute, that was the first long throw by Michael Boxall, and it is just so much fun to watch these throws by Michael Boxall. But there was a restart after I believe it was after a foul or after a goal kick, and LAFC made a little great run. Matty earning a corner, and that corner kind of pinballed around the box, right? I think it went to either Eddie Segura or maybe even Aaron Long in the middle of the box. They couldn't get anything on it. The ball just kind of trickled to Dane St. Clair. But, man, that Michael Boxall long throw is just so much fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, he puts a lot of muscle behind that, and that sucker goes. It's quite impressive. There was ever a challenge at the All-Star game that depicted the distance of somebody's throw-ins. I think Michael Boxall would annihilate anybody. And thank you, Chris Lafferty, in the chat. Finland's national tree is the white bark silver birch.
Hold on. Ron Burgundy, you got to make sure you fact check that. Lafferty could literally type in whatever he wants there, and you'd probably read it. But that one sounds.
But why would But first off, how would anybody even know firsthand what a white bark silver birch is? I don't know if they grow them out in his town of Connecticut. They definitely don't grow them in North Hollywood where he's at. That's pretty specific, Scarf. Now, I can, yes, I don't read everything off the top. Yeah, I do read everything off the top. Let's move forward. 34th minute. Kike Oliveira. You talked about Michael Boxall. Oliveira applying the pressure on Boxall, creating a turnover, and had a lovely shot towards Dane St. Clair, but he just missed to the left. But if you watch the replay, Dane got his fingers on it. That was, I believe, the second time in the game that LAFC should have been awarded a corner, which it was 2 missed opportunities for LAFC as a result of the officials. Dane St. Clair, if you go back to that moment in the 34th, watch it again. His hand ever so gently pushed Oliveira's shot off frame. There was another instance with Denis Bouanga where they were making a run towards the end, and off of Dane St. Clair again. I'm not entirely. The one with Kike Oliveira, I get how you can miss that. The one against Denis Bouanga, I totally don't get.
Yeah, that was back in the 25th minute. You're absolutely right. In the 36th minute, however, Hugo coming all the way out to snag a low cross. And I think something that we're seeing from Hugo Lloris that is potentially really underrated is how quickly he has some of these restarts going. And he makes a very quick restart. He throws it out to, I believe, Ryan Hollingshead, because then they cut to a replay.
The yellow card by Trapp on Duenas.
Yeah. Exactly. They cut to that play. But off the quick restart by Hugo, Ryan Hollingshead plays a great long ball to Denis Bouanga on the wing, 1v1 against DJ Taylor, and no argument whatsoever, not from DJ Taylor, not from Eric Ramsey, not from anybody on the pitch. That was indeed a penalty. Denis Bouanga taken down in the box. He steps up. And of course, what we know happened, Denis Bouanga 4 for 4 now on PKs. And more importantly, Philly, moving into rarefied air for LAFC. Only 3 players with 50 goals in all competitions. It took Diego Rossi 93 games. It took Carlos Vela 64 games. And a nice round 80 matches for Denis Bouanga to notch his 50th goal in all competitions. He is in the Mount Rushmore of goal scorers for LAFC.
Get a load of this guy, spitting out all the facts, making himself sound like the smarter of the two of us. When do I get to spit out some fun facts like that? I had that all queued up, and you totally took the rug from right out under me. But you are right. Denis hitting that rarefied air of 50, and it couldn't have come at a better time. He's a dangerous man from 12 yards. He's a dangerous man from anywhere on the pitch. But unlike Carlos Vela, Denis gives you that automatic, this is a goal, which is why I usually like to go on Instagram Live when he's in that position, because he hasn't let me down. 1-0, and that's honestly how the first half plays out.
Yeah, no, look, you're absolutely right. They had that, like right off the restart, LAFC got going right back the other way. Denis Bouanga 1v1, and he just fell down. And that was kind of the effort for the last 5-6 minutes of regulation and 5 minutes of stoppage. We really did a great job of showing how not to run a 4v2 break right before halftime. We go in 1-0, and Philly, we looked up at the stat line, right? What did we have? 2 shots on target to their 1. I
No,
mean,
no, I believe sometimes what you see on the scoreboard at BMO, then what you see on MLSsoccer.com, and then what you see on FOTMob, oftentimes they don't necessarily
right.
correlate correctly. As per FOTMob, and that's usually who I like to reference for a lot of stats, we had 6 shots. Only one of them were on target, though.
Yeah, look, either way, it was when you got 2 teams playing 5 in the back, which we essentially were. That was exactly the type of first half that I thought we would see. But that being said, love you, Jacob. Thank you so much. But that being said, Philly, a very ho-hum first half. Not a lot to write home about, but a great individual effort off of a great restart by Denis Bouanga. I want to make sure that our buddy Tapias, what is his name? I'm blanking on Miguel Tapias. I want to make sure that Miguel Tapias is okay. I think Matty Bogusz has to send him a little fruit basket or something because Philly, I don't know what you're doing. You're just paused with Hello Kitty right next to you right now.
She's
But
got an audience. I'm letting you talk. She's trying not to be rude. She's trying really hard not to say something.
52nd minute, we've seen Matty Bogusz do some incredible things off of these free kicks, and certainly he was looking to go top bins. But if top bins was Miguel Tapias's nose and face, he nailed the target perfectly. It looked so bad in person. He went down in a heap immediately, got back up after about 2 minutes, had cotton in the nose. He asked for the team trainer to remove the bumblebee from his helmet. The team trainer had to say, "You're not wearing a helmet." It was a whole thing, but he got absolutely drilled in the face. I don't want to make light of concussions, but it is unreal that he was able to just come right back out. How is this his best year in sports? I'm confused, Josh.
What? I mean, I've called like 60 games this year already.
Oh, I thought they was talking about your teams. I was like, your teams have been terrible.
My teams are consistently terrible. It's just the nature of it, but not LAFC, thankfully.
Thank goodness. Absolutely. Philly, look, this second half, it was fine, but let's move ahead.
We can prod it along. I don't want to go minute for minute like on everything that happened within the second half. There are a couple of highlights. There was a whiff by Eddie Segura within the 58 that really could have helped. 61st minute, I would say, is when we really had a oh my gosh moment when there was a play off of a corner where there was a quick touch pass and it just happened to go through the legs of Teemu Pukki. Pukki, by the way, not having as solid of a season as he did when he first graced Major League Soccer last year. That was something that was kept in mind. But to me, we talked about the Hugo Lloris save early in the first half. Dane St. Clair in the 73rd, Scarf makes what I think, without a doubt, is the save of the game, as he denies Denis Bouanga, who got a beauty of a pass from Sergi Palencia. Dane St. Clair, what a heck of a save. For those of you who don't know, when Scarf referred to him as being from El Maple Tree FC, I mean, it does sound like it could be a Canadian club that you would see in the Canadian Cup that Vancouver would thrash in tournament play. But he's referring to the Canadian national team. Dane St. Clair surpassed our very own Maxime Crepeau on a starting spot, but prior to Maxime breaking his leg. St. Clair's a pretty legit keeper.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Look, El Maple Tree is a little play on El Tree, obviously, being Mexico's national team. Have a little fun with that one. I enjoy it.
It does sound like a team, though, that's going to compete in the Canadian Cup.
It does. I love the Canadian Premier League. I try and watch all of them.
I bet you do. Calvary FC, that's your squad.
I have the package on the Ocho, ESPN the Ocho. Absolutely. Look, I think Denis Bouanga did everything he could, right? It was a perfect pass. Denis has to one-touch it. He made a great one-touch, but, I mean, perfect positioning by Dane St. Clair, an incredible save. 71st minute, Ilie comes on for Eric Duenas, and Omar Campos comes on for Eddie Segura. And I have to say, the 70-minute shift that both Eric Duenas and Eddie Segura put in, I think we got every drop that we could have out of those two guys. And I am so happy with the way that Eric Duenas played. I'm so happy with the way that Eddie Segura played. I would have loved to have had Eddie Segura in the press conference so that we could have talked to Eddie about what it was like. Because, look, there were absolutely moments where he looked like a deer in the headlights and was a little unsure of himself. But then there were those moments where Eddie just kind of fell into place and played center mid and incredibly well. I'm just really happy for Eddie Segura to be able to get minutes and to not feel as snake bit as he was earlier in the season. Steve Cherundolo talked about Eric Duenas in the media day before the match, so we had an idea that Eric would be playing a significant role in this match. I did not think it would be as significant as it was. And again, as a lot of people in the chat are saying, as well as Isis, hi Isis, Ilie Sanchez back in the fold for LAFC in the 71st minute.
If only Eddie would have scored that goal that he kind of whiffed on, I would say 9 out of 10 times in training, he would have just absolutely obliterated that. But, you know, I'm happy, like you said, for the shift that he put in. A couple of knee surgeries, right? It's not so much being able to fully recover physically because they have
setbacks, right? And setbacks. Remember? And setbacks.
Yeah, and setbacks, exactly. I mean, during the run to the cup, he got hurt in the game against Austin, wasn't able to play in the game against the Philadelphia Union. But athletes have been recovering at a much quicker pace these days for injuries. I mean, think of baseball with Tommy John surgery, for example. It seems like every pitcher nowadays has Tommy John. But the big thing when you come back from these types of injuries is the mental aspect, more so than the physical aspect, because you know physically you can do it. You wouldn't get the green light and feel the way you do playing in a professional football match if you couldn't physically do it. But it's the mental aspect that Eddie's needed to learn to overcome. And so I think the time going to LAFC 2 might have been like a good wake-up call for him, getting some minutes, getting match fit, getting himself reacclimated to the rigors of playing his position. And his position is not an easy one. You got to be on your toes to keep up with some of these speedy physical forwards in Major League Soccer. But he did put up a really good shift. And I'm happy for him. We did an interview with him back in 2020. Eddie Segura, without a doubt, a friend of the pod. We haven't done many player interviews in such a long time. I think the reason being is because back when we would conduct them, LAFC players would get hurt or leave. The last one we had was what? Dio. Dio bounced, I don't know, like 2 weeks after we did that. We had Steven Beitashour gone. We had Benny Feilhaber gone. We had, oh my God, Javi Perez, when we drafted him, tore his knee up again. Philip Ejimadu got hurt, then ended up playing in USL. So we decided not to interview LAFC players anymore because we thought it was the defender's jinx. We didn't want that to be known. I'd say nowadays, though, we should probably get the green light and bring some LAFC players back. I have this idea for an LAFC alumni pod where we bring in the likes of a Lee Win and a Steven Beitashour, but I'm going to work on that.
Philly, we know that members of the LAFC front office and staff listen to this podcast. You just gave them 15 reasons why we're never going to get a player interview again.
We're credentialed members of the media. Look, I think we've worked our way into, earning that trust and respect. Maybe I did give them 15 reasons, maybe just one, but that was back in the day. It was, oh my God, 4 years ago, the last time we interviewed an LAFC player. I think we've done 5 or 6 with staff. I don't even remember the last LAFC interview we had. I think it might have been Larry Friedman. I don't remember the last time we interviewed anybody for that matter.
I love that guy. Philly, by the way, before this episode said, hey, let's try not to go off on a tangent and try to keep this episode short.
This caffeinated freaking dried cherry vanilla sparkling water Yahoo mess. There's no alcohol in it, I swear. It's just an awful lot of caffeine.
In the 75th minute, thank goodness no one was on the back post as Ilie got caught with a step too high and Ryan Hollingshead got megged, and that cross goes all the way through on the back post with nobody there. Jacob, we are getting some defender stickers. Josh, I do not think LAFC 2 is going to be a substitute for trades and designated players. But either way, we have another sub, a couple of subs from Minnesota as Paddleford and Caden Clark Wow, how the
Threw in
mighty
a
have
whole
fallen.
lineup.
Yeah, Paddleford, Caden Clark, and Jordan Adebayo Smith all come on. I think that was really a last gasp effort by Minnesota. But little did they know that Matty Bogusz was about to rain down thunder and lightning from the heavens. Yes, Philly has his hand up.
Yeah, can I just build that up before you take the goal call?
Yeah, go right ahead.
All right, look, what was beautiful about that play, it was a golazo. We know that. But the way it built up was fantastic. And it all starts with the amazing distribution from Hugo Lloris. He connects with, go back to watch that replay in the 82nd minute, right before the goal was scored. Lloris, brilliant distribution. Oliveira, brilliant touch. Pings it on over to Denny, spits it on over to Matty, and there you have it. That's how that play developed. It was gorgeous buildup.
Philly, I don't even think you spent enough time talking about that pass by Hugo. That pass by Hugo caught the toe in stride perfectly of Kike Oliveira. That
Incredible
pass, and then the touch, the soft touch by Kike. That's Mario just said the same thing right now in the chat. There you go. The dime from Hugo, the soft touch from Kike. Think what we're saying right now. Kike Oliveira with the soft touch, and then getting it on to Denis Bouanga. And I'm sorry, what Denis Bouanga has done best over these last several matches has been to distribute that ball. And Mikey, yes, he actually got an assist, number 99, Denis Bouanga, from what, 30 yards out maybe? The laser show by Matty Bogusz, top bins. Dane St. Clair outstretched, and that is a long, lanky dude to outstretch, but he wasn't going to get it. Philly, we watch the NHL shootout competitions all the time. They got those two paper plates in the corner of the goal. We see it now at the MLS All-Star Game when they have those cool games, and you see those targets up in the corner. Matty Bogusz is lucky there was a net, but moreover, the 32-52 is lucky there was a net there. That one would have taken out two capos and two more supporters on the way up. An absolute laser show from Matty Bogusz. I mean, wow, LAFC up 2-0, and the place just erupted, Philly.
It was beautiful. Like, I lost my ish when he scored that goal too. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that's the best goal we've seen by any LAFC player this season. I'm not going to say all time because that's not the case, but definitely this season. What makes me so happy, though, is you said it. Denis operating as a facilitator. He leads our team in goals with 9. He leads Major League Soccer with shots. I think shots on target as well. But he also leads our side with assists in 5, which is pretty darn cool. And just behind him, Matty Bogusz with 6 goals, 2 assists. Oliveira, 4 goals, 1 assist. Tillman, 4 goals and 2 assists. The offensive workload, as I alluded to at the top of the broadcast, is operating at a much more efficient level than I think we'd seen since prior to last year. Last year, it was Denny. How many times did we come on this show and say, if Denny's not having a good game, LAFC is going to get cooked? This season, we don't need Denny to do anything other than to pick apart the back line and find somebody who's open, because we know defenders are all going to collapse on him, and that's going to open up multiple players making their runs forward. And Oliveira, the recipient of things. Matty Bogusz, the recipient of things. And it's just, I love what we're seeing out of this team. It's a team. Denny is the star, but this is without a doubt a team.
And Philly, you have to account for weapons now. This isn't last season where you put 3 guys over on Denis Bouanga's side and make anybody else in black and gold beat you, because that was where it was a little difficult for us. You have to account for Matty Bogusz within 30 yards of goal. You have to account for Kike Oliveira being able to break down 1 or 2 defenders by himself and be able to take that ball into the box. And now you have to account for, if you bring 2 guys over to Denis, he is going to be able to make the pass and find the right channel. It is absolutely exactly what the doctor ordered for our front 3 for LAFC. This one wasn't even Matty playing the front 3 for part of it. He dropped back. I mean, it was just, what a great front 3 that we've got going on right now. In the 84th minute, speaking of front 3, how about a back 6 at times? Kind of. I don't know. We had 6 defenders out on the pitch as Maxime Chanot comes on for Matty Bogusz. I loved it. Matty scored, looked over at Steve, and they were like, come on, you're coming up. That's it. Here comes Maxime Shutout. 6 defenders on the pitch. Omar Campos kind of acting like a midfielder, maybe playing that lazy 6 role, but he was actually more outside than he was inside with Ilya Sanchez now in. And Ryan Hollingshead, Aaron Long, Maxime Chanot, Jesus Murillo, and Sergi Palencia on the back line. 6 defenders out there. So as the defenders of the bank, Philly, we are loving life, watching all these defenders on the pitch. We're already up 2-0. Kai Kamara comes on for Kiki Oliveira in the 90th. And Philly, other than the moment where we thought, we hoped, we wished, we waited for, we wanted Kai Kamara to finally tie Earthquakes legend Landon Donovan with that goal, there wasn't much that happened over the 8 minutes of stoppage time that we had.
No, and that was, there really wasn't. The play for Kai, no question that was offside. Didn't want to fight it through. He's oh so close to catching up to Landon Donovan, and I want to see him do that for the simple fact that the guy's going to turn 40 in September. Pretty stinking cool. The guy's still rock solid. And on a selfish level, it's just going to be nice for him to be wearing an LAFC jersey, surpassing a Galaxy player on the goal scoring list. So that's what I want to see more than anything. Kai Kamara has scored a goal for LAFC this season, but it was in the U.S. Open Cup against the Las Vegas Lights, so that doesn't necessarily count in terms of his goals scored in Major League Soccer. Look, it ends 2-0, and not once, other than that one play early on where Timu Pukki had to get nutmegged and Robin Lod's shot was saved by Lloris. They were not threatening by any means. They had a couple of opportunities, but Minnesota did not at all look like the Minnesota that we had played at Allianz. So we handed it to them, and we thought we were going to leapfrog our neighbors down the 110, but the Galaxy are just a team that just doesn't lose. I mean, they've got so many ties and so many games where they play from a deficit. It's going to make that July 4th game really wild and intense, even more so than it really would. But the game ends 2-0. I don't think, if you have any stats, go for it. But, we finish off the game with 14 shots, 5 of them on target, 2 goals. Then he gets his 50th. Matty Bogusz is 6th of the season. What a game.
Yeah, a couple of people in the chat are asking about why Captain Denis Bouanga has not been a thing. Honestly, it's because he's got enough responsibility shouldering the offensive load for this team. I don't think that Denis should be captain for that reason, not because he hasn't earned it with his play or anything like that. Obviously, a guy who will jump off of an 18-hour series of airplane flights, get onto the pitch and score a game-winning goal for us is a guy who will do anything for this club. But I don't think he should be captain. By the way, Latif Blessing has scored in both of the last 2 games for the Houston Dynamo. That's cool. Diego Rossi is scoring for Columbus. But Philly, we haven't done this in a while. LAFC, since we're now sitting 3rd in the West on 27 points, 3 points back of RSL, 1 point back of Carson, but both of those teams having 1 match more played than we have. Let's take a quick look. It's 15 matches in. The Supporters Shield is within sight right now. And I know you guys might think it's a little early or we're a little
I totally
crazy,
think it's too early to be talking about this.
But 15 matches is okay to take a look and see where it is, because all of a sudden, if you look at the top race for the Supporters Shield, LAFC has got to be accounted for. 5th in overall points, 7 back of Miami, but Miami's played 2 more matches than we have. So we've got a chance to take at least 6 of those 7 away from them with just closing the gap of matches played. We're 4th overall in points per match at 1.8, leapfrogging one of the teams that we are behind in terms of overall points. All I'm saying, Philly, is 15 matches in, I can kind of see over there in the distance. Wow, my hand looks really big when I hold it like this.
The invisible hand of Scarf.
All I can say, Philly, is that it's a little glimmer out there, whereas before we were real far away from it.
I like what Alexandra Sandoval says in the chat. U.S. Open Cup to punch our ticket to CONCACAF Champions Cup. That's cool. Oh, and by the way, you brought up Diego Rossi. I believe the champion, the Cup final against Pachuca's on Saturday.
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken. It's June 1st, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
can't
so a
wait.
lot of things are going on June 1st. Champions League between Dortmund and Real Madrid, the CONCACAF Champions Cup between Pachuca and the Columbus Crew, all kinds of crazy things. Isis goes squirrel. Yeah, I
Girl.
happen to be in there. I just had a thought, speaking of which, when you mentioned the race to the shield, and I thought about it being too early. Our season in Major League Soccer starts when?
Like late February, early March.
And ends with the MLS Cup final being when?
Like early December.
Isn't it crazy that our season is much longer than baseball?
I mean,
You ever think of it that way?
it can be.
Our season is much longer than baseball.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, obviously not as many games, good Lord.
Right.
But our season is much longer
Well,
than
and
baseball.
by the way, speaking of not as many games, there's a lawsuit coming by the players of the 4 or 5 largest leagues about this whole Club World Cup thing, because to your point, they think that teams or players are already playing too many matches. So adding this Club World Cup that they're going to try to add really is going to tax some of these players even more. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. Philly, speaking of our next match, Saturday, June 1st at BMO, we host FC Dallas, 7:30 p.m. And then after that, we got some time to get some guys right. We have a 2-week break on the schedule after that June 1st match. We go to Orlando June 15th, so 14 days in between 2 matches. Obviously, a little bit of an international break as a lot of teams getting ready for Copa America, getting ready for a couple of international friendlies, things like that. I can't wait to see Timothy Tillman suit up for the U.S. men's national team. We may lose a guy like Kike Oliveira. We may lose, obviously, Matty Bogusz to Poland. We'll have to see what happens with those. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. In the 2-week break, there's something I do want to mention really quickly, because there's the reason why I'm promoting it, that you see the reason why it's been on the Defenders stuff real quick. Before I move forward, is there any other LAFC stuff you want to talk about real quick, or are we done?
Let's roll, brother.
All right. So 2 weeks from now, well, a little more than 2 weeks from now, it's going to be Father's Day, June 14th, right? If you're wondering for what you want to do, you want to tell your significant other something to get, I highly recommend you look at tickets. Go to Ticketmaster.com. There's a Legends game at Toyota Arena where you're going to see the likes of Ronaldinho. Yes, the Ronaldinho. You're going to see the likes of Kaká and several other big name players, influencers, so on and so forth, that are going to be competing in a major arena soccer league style indoor game at Toyota Arena. The game's going to be on June 16th at 4 p.m. Yours truly is very much involved in that. I'll let you know in what capacity as we get closer, and there's a very good chance that Scarf's going to be the public address announcer at that game, but it's going to be a really cool environment. Look, it's obviously not Ronaldinho from the days of Barcelona or Kaká during his time in Italy, but either way, when will we ever get an opportunity to see these two guys compete, period? So if you're looking for a Father's Day gift, check it out at Ticketmaster. The Game of Legends at Toyota Arena, once again, June 16th at 4 p.m. I'll see you there. Scarf will see you there. Hopefully we see many of the millions
and millions
of Defenders of the Bank listeners out there as well.
Yeah, don't forget to head on over to defendersofthebank.com for all your Defenders needs. Check out that shop link. You got plenty of time to buy those Father's Day gifts out there. T-shirts, sweatshirts, tank tops, women's cuts, men's cuts, whatever you got. Make sure you check out defendersofthebank.com. Click on the shop link. Philly, I think we're ready to roll.
Forward to the Hello Kitty line that is going to be unveiled momentarily. I will be giving a free sample to one Chris Lafferty during a tailgate. Little does he know, he now knows the Hello Kitty line, soon to be followed by the Scarf Stradamus line and the Philly 316 line. So keep your eyes out, Defenders. Defendersofthebank.com. Look for the link that says shop for, like Scarf said, all of your Defenders needs. Hello Kitty in the Uvaginiah Doubtfire voice is now done.
And you know how we like to end each and every single one of our episodes. This one, 305. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.